My mother's voice didn't shake. That was the part that hurt the most. She stood in the middle of our living room, her living room now, I guess, staring at me like I was a stranger who had wandered in by accident. "You don't belong in this family anymore," she said, not shouted, not whispered, just stated like it was a normal thing to say. My father didn't defend me. He just sat there with his newspaper, pretending he didn't hear anything. And my older brother, Daniel, leaned back on the couch with a smirk on his face, like he'd been waiting for this moment. I had come home with my acceptance letter to the university I'd worked 3 years to get into. I expected, stupidly, to be congratulated. Instead, my mother grabbed the envelope from my hand, ripped it open, and said the grades weren't impressive enough, and that I had grown too arrogant. Then she dropped the real sentence. "Pack your things. We're done supporting you. When you walk out that door, don't walk back." I felt the world tilt. For a second, I thought she was joking, but her eyes were cold, closed off, final. That was the moment something in me froze, and something else woke up. My name is Amina, and this wasn't the first time my mother tried to cut me out of the family. It was just the first time she said it so clearly. Growing up, I always felt like an outsider in my own home. My mother adored my older brother, Daniel, straight a student, varsity athlete, golden boy. She praised him for breathing. Meanwhile, I could bring home trophies and get nothing but, "Why not first place?" Or "Don't get too proud." No matter what I did, Daniel did it better. And if he didn't, my mother rewrote the story until he did. My father was quiet, always choosing peace over fairness. He'd pat my shoulder, look away, and say nothing. But deep down, I kept believing that if I worked hard enough, I'd finally earn their respect. So I studied harder, stayed up later, did everything I could. The university I got into wasn't easy. The acceptance letter was supposed to be proof that I wasn't the failure they always made me feel like. It was supposed to be my finally. But instead of celebrating, my mother acted like my success was a threat. "Daniel deserved that spot," she muttered earlier. "Not you." And suddenly, everything clicked. This wasn't about university. It was about control. "Hand over your keys," my mother said, holding out her palm like I was some guest who had overstayed. My heart sank. "Mom, seriously." "This is not your home," she replied. "You don't get to benefit from us when you clearly think you're better." Better? I had never thought that. I had only wanted to be enough. Daniel stood up, stretching like he was bored. "Mom, don't waste time. She's been disrespectful for months. Just kick her out already." I stared at him. My own brother. The same brother I used to help with projects. The same brother who borrowed my savings last year and never paid me back. "You're really okay with this?" I asked. He shrugged. "Actions have consequences, Amina." I felt a flash of heat in my chest. "What action?" Mom cut in sharply. "Your attitude, your tone, your constant need to prove yourself." I wanted to scream. Instead, I stood there and watched as she walked to the hallway closet, pulled out a small suitcase, and tossed it at my feet. "This is all you need," she said. "Take it and leave." That was the moment I realized. They had already decided my fate long before this day. I had just been too hopeful to see it. A wave of numbness washed over me. Everything felt distant, like I was watching my life happen from outside my body. "You're choosing him over me," I whispered. My mother's jaw tightened. "Daniel has always been loyal. You've become rebellious." Rebellious. Because I wanted a future. Because I worked for opportunities they never helped me get. Before I could speak, Daniel stepped closer, crossing his arms. "Let's not drag this out, Amina. Mom already made her decision." My father still hadn't looked up from his newspaper, but I saw his fingers tremble slightly. "Dad," I asked softly. He finally raised his eyes, sad, guilty, tired, but still silent. The silence said everything. He wasn't going to stand up for me. Not now. Not ever. I picked up the suitcase, even though it felt like lifting a mountain. My mother folded her arms like she was proud of herself. "Good, you're finally listening." Then she delivered the line I will never forget. You don't belong in this family anymore. Something inside me cracked, but something else hardened. If she wanted me gone so badly, fine. But later, she would regret ever saying those words. She just didn't know it yet. I walked toward the door slowly, trying not to let my shaking hands show. Every breath scraped my throat. Every step felt heavier than the last. My mother watched me like a judge. Daniel watched like he'd won. My father watched like a coward. When I reached the doorway, my mother snapped, "And leave your university letter. We're not paying your tuition." I paused. "I never asked you to." She blinked, confused by my calm tone. Daniel laughed. "Good luck paying for anything on your own." "I don't need luck," I said quietly. I needed distance. I needed clarity. I needed freedom. As soon as I stepped outside, the door slammed behind me, hard enough to make me jump. It was like the final punctuation on a sentence I never asked to be part of. I walked to the end of the driveway before letting myself breathe again. The suitcase handle dug into my palm. My vision blurred, but I refused to cry. They wanted to break me. They wanted me desperate. They wanted me to come crawling back. But leaving felt like opening a window after years in a locked room. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew one thing. I wasn't running from them. I was running towards something better. I ended up standing outside the bus stop, staring at my phone, unsure who to call. Most of my friends lived far. Some were busy. Some I hadn't spoken to in months because my mother hated them. Then I thought of Layla, my childhood friend who never gave up on me, even when I kept disappearing because of family drama. She lived 15 minutes away. I texted her, "Can I come over?" She replied instantly, "Are you okay? Yes, come now." When I reached her house, she opened the door before I even knocked. Her eyes widened as she saw the suitcase. "Amina, what happened?" I sat on her couch and finally let the truth spill out. Not everything, just enough. The sentence, the rejection, the way they threw me out like trash. Layla didn't interrupt. She just sat beside me and held my hand. When I finished, she said, "You can stay here as long as you need, I mean it." Those words felt like warm water on a frozen wound. But even as I rested, the anger inside me grew. Not loud, not chaotic, but quiet and focused. My mother thought she could erase me. She forgot one thing. People always hide the documents they fear the most. And I had just remembered one of them. That night, while lying on Layla's guest bed, I remembered something small but sharp, like a shard of memory that refused to stay buried. Years ago, when I was around 12, I walked into the living room at the wrong moment. My parents were whispering urgently, papers spread across the table. When they saw me, my mother shoved the papers into a folder and snapped, "Go to your room." But I had caught a glimpse of one page before she hid it. Just one word. One word that made no sense to me then. Guardianship. At the time, I shrugged it off, assuming it was about Daniel, since he always needed some form or another. But now, after being thrown out, after being erased, something in my brain clicked. What if that document wasn't about him? What if it was about me? A strange calm settled over me. Not peace, more like clarity. If my mother didn't want me in the family, if she had always treated me like an unwanted guest, maybe I wasn't the problem. Maybe the truth was. And suddenly, a new thought formed. That document might explain everything. And if it said what I suspected, then my mother's perfect little world was about to fall apart. The next morning, I decided to call the one person in the family my mother couldn't control, Aunt Miriam, my father's older sister. She had always treated me kindly, sometimes too kindly, as if she felt sorry for me. Now I understood why that had always bothered my mother. I called her and tried to keep my voice steady. "Aunt Miriam, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." She hesitated. "What's wrong, Amina?" Did something happen when I was younger? Something about my guardianship? Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then she whispered, "Your mother will kill me if I say anything." "She already threw me out," I said. "I deserve to know." Another moment of silence, then a shaky breath from her end. "Amina, you're not imagining things. There is a guardianship document, and your mother never wanted you to see it." My stomach dropped. Why? Because it would change everything. I gripped the phone tighter. "Aunt Miriam, please tell me." She exhaled like she had carried this secret for years. "You're not fully her biological child," she said softly. "Your father, he had a relationship before your mother. You were born from that. Your mother agreed to raise you, but only under strict legal terms." The world spun. And suddenly, everything made sense. I was walking in as someone searching for the truth. Layla had insisted on coming with me. "You're not going alone," she said, crossing her arms. "You need support." So the two of us stood there, watching the curtains shift. Someone had seen us. "Ready?" she asked. I nodded, even though my stomach was tight. We crossed the road. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Finally, the door opened a crack. Daniel stood there with a bowl of cereal, looking annoyed. "What do you want?" he said. "I need to talk to Dad," I replied calmly. "Mom says you're not allowed in the house anymore." I stared him straight in the eyes. "I'm not here for her. I'm here for a document Dad kept." Daniel's fake confidence flickered. "What document?" "You know exactly which one." He swallowed, hard. Before he could slam the door, I pushed it open with my hand. Not enough to be rude, but enough to show I wasn't leaving. "Move, Daniel," I said quietly. "I'm getting what belongs to me." Daniel stepped back, stunned that I wasn't backing down. "You can't just—" "I can," I said, "and I will." My father appeared behind him, still in his slippers, holding a cup of tea. His eyes widened when he saw me. "Amina," he whispered. "I need to talk to you," I said, privately. Before he could answer, my mother's footsteps approached, sharp, fast, angry. She appeared at the top of the stairs, her expression souring the moment she saw me. "What are you doing here? I told you you're not welcome." I ignored her completely, keeping my eyes on my father. "Dad, I need the guardianship document, the one you kept locked in your study." The color drained from his face. My mother froze, her grip tightened on the staircase railing. What did you say?" I turned to her slowly. "The document you never wanted me to see." Her face twisted. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I do now." My father looked between us, fear in his eyes, guilt in every line on his face. "Dad," I repeated softly, "please." He exhaled slowly, as if something heavy inside him finally gave way. "Come with me," he said. My mother lunged forward. "No, she is not allowed in that room." My father lifted a hand. "Enough, Maria," he said. "Amina has the right to know." My father led me down the hallway to his study. A room my mother rarely entered, and a room I was never allowed to touch. The door clicked shut behind us, leaving my mother pounding on the other side. "Don't open that door," she screamed. "She doesn't need to see anything." My father sank into his chair, rubbing his face. "I always knew this day would come." "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Because your mother, she never forgave me," he said quietly. "Not for what happened before we married, not for you." He reached into the bottom drawer, pulled out an old metal box and placed it on the desk. He hesitated before opening it, like he was touching a wound. "You were born before our marriage," he said. "Your mother agreed to raise you only under legal terms. She made me sign a guardianship agreement. She didn't want you to have claim to anything. She didn't want to treat you as equal to Daniel." I swallowed hard. "She didn't even try." "She tried," he whispered, "but she never saw you as hers." He pulled out the document, yellowed edges, thick paper, official seal. "This is your truth," he said, "and I'm sorry I waited so long." I reached for it with trembling hands. The document that changed everything. The paper felt heavier than it looked. My name sat at the top in bold letters, followed by lines of legal writing I never knew existed. It stated clearly, my father was my biological parent. My mother was not biologically connected to me. She agreed to be my guardian under strict conditions. She had no legal right to disinherit me or remove me from the home. And the biggest one, any attempt to remove me from the family without cause would void the agreement and give me rights to inheritance and guardianship decisions. My eyes widened, my breath caught. So all these years, she treated me that way because of this. My father's eyes filled with regret. Yes. She threw me out, told me I didn't belong. And that, he said, pointing gently to the document, is a violation. I felt a cold clarity wash over me. She didn't just mistreat me, she broke a legal agreement. My father nodded slowly. Then from outside the study, my mother's voice rang out, sharp, furious, panicked. Amina, if you walk out with that paper, don't you ever come back. I looked at the door. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. I folded the document carefully and slipped it into my bag. She thought throwing me out would erase me. Instead, it made me more powerful than she ever expected. When I opened the study door, my mother was waiting, face red, hands shaking, anger burning in her eyes. Give me that document, she demanded. No. Her lips tightened. Amina, I am warning you. I stepped into the hallway. You don't get to warn me anymore. Daniel appeared behind her, confused and pale. What's happening? My mother snapped at him. She found the paper. She wasn't supposed to. I cut her off. The paper that says you can't throw me out, the one that proves you've treated me like a stranger for years. Her jaw clenched. You weren't meant to read that. You weren't meant to question me. That's the problem, I said. You think controlling me equals raising me. My father finally stepped out of the study. Maria, enough. She spun on him. This is your fault. You promised she wouldn't find out. No, he said firmly. I promised to protect her. For the first time, my mother's face cracked, fear pushing through the anger. You don't understand what you're doing, she whispered. I stepped closer, my voice calm. No, you don't understand what you did. And now, it's all coming back to you. Her control shattered in that hallway. And she knew it. My mother's voice dropped to a fake sweet tone, the same one she used whenever she was losing control. Amina, darling, you're confused. You don't understand the agreement. That paper doesn't mean anything. I pulled it out of my bag and held it up. It means everything, and you know it. Daniel leaned in, trying to read it. Is it really that serious? My father answered for me. Yes. My mother's eyes darted between us, wild and desperate. We can talk this out. You don't need to run off with old documents. I didn't run, I said. You kicked me out. She flinched, as if hearing her own words replayed. And legally, I continued, you weren't allowed to. Daniel frowned. Mom, is that true? Daniel, stay out of this, she snapped. His expression hardened. It was the first time I saw him doubt her. I folded the document again. I'm not staying here, and I'm not pretending anymore, but I'm not disappearing either. You wouldn't dare take this further. My mother said, stepping forward. I met her eyes. Try me. That was the moment she realized she couldn't manipulate me anymore. Her lies, her guilt trips, her threats, they slid off me like rain. I wasn't her scared child anymore. I was someone she could no longer control. I walked toward the front door with steady steps, Layla following close behind. My mother trailed after us, throwing out every tactic she had left. You're ungrateful. You're ruining this family. You'll regret this. You're throwing away everything we gave you. I didn't answer a single one. When I reached the doorway, the same doorway I had been shoved out of days ago, I paused and turned back. I didn't ruin this family, I said calmly. You did that when you chose control over love. She froze. And the difference now, I added, I have proof. Her face drained of color. I stepped outside. No shaking hands. No tears. No fear. Just a strange, new strength. Layla squeezed my arm. You okay? More than okay. We walked down the driveway, and I didn't look back, not until I heard my mother slam the door behind us. Only this time. I was the one leaving by choice. And I wasn't walking away empty-handed. I was walking away with the truth. And the truth was powerful. Back at Layla's house, I laid the document on the table. She leaned over it, reading the lines with wide eyes. Amina, this is huge. I know. This gives you actual legal protection. I know. And your mother knows you can use this. I know, I repeated, but softer this time. Because now the decision I had to make felt big, heavy, life-changing. I could do nothing and let them pretend I didn't exist. Or I could use the document to claim what I rightfully deserved: respect, acknowledgement, legal standing, and a real place in the family. Not because I wanted revenge, but because my mother needed to learn she couldn't erase me. Layla put a hand on my shoulder. Whatever you choose, I'm with you. I breathed deeply. I'm going to talk to a lawyer, I said. I want to know exactly what my rights are. Layla nodded. Good, you're not doing this alone. I stared at the document again, feeling a warmth in my chest. For the first time in my life, I had something stronger than fear. I had power, and I was going to use it. The next morning, we met with a family lawyer Layla's cousin recommended. Her name was Mrs. Halima, sharp eyes, calm tone, no-nonsense attitude. She welcomed us into her office and listened as I told her everything. When I handed her the guardianship document, her eyebrows shot up. This, she said, tapping the paper, is not only valid, it's strong. My heart sped up. What does it mean for me? It means your mother had no legal right to remove you from the home, she explained. And any attempt to cut you off financially or emotionally is a violation. I swallowed. What can I do now? You have options, she said. You can. 1. File a complaint and request legal protection. 2. Demand your place be restored in the family records. 3. Secure your inheritance rights. 4. Require your father to uphold the agreement. Layla squeezed my hand. Mrs. Halima continued. Your mother's behavior is not only unethical, it's illegal under this agreement. I sat back stunned. So I wasn't powerless. All this time I actually had rights. Yes, she said gently. You did, and now that you know, you can decide what to do. I nodded slowly, feeling something settle firmly inside me. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for the truth my mother never wanted me to see. When I turned on my phone that morning, I had 10 missed calls from Mom and 3 long voice messages. Her voice shook in each one. Please come home. We need to talk. I made a mistake. She apologized over and over, something she never did. I didn't answer. I didn't even think about calling her back. For once, she felt the silence that she had always thrown at me. By noon, she stood outside the apartment where I was staying. She knocked like someone who had fire behind her. When I opened the door, she looked like she hadn't slept at all. Her eyes were red and tired. Please, she whispered, don't do this to the family. You don't understand what your father will do if you leave like this. I let her inside, but I kept my arms crossed. You told me I didn't belong. You pushed me out. Mom covered her face with her hands. I didn't mean it. I was angry. I was scared. Just come home and we'll fix everything. But I was no longer that girl who accepted scraps of love. I stood taller. I had learned to choose myself. Mom forced a family meeting for that evening, saying everyone needed to talk together. I didn't want to go, but part of me needed to hear them admit what they had done. When I arrived, the whole living room was stiff and quiet. My dad sat in his favorite chair, arms folded. My sister stayed on her phone like she didn't care. My brother didn't look up at all. Mom stood in the center like she was hosting some dramatic TV show. We're here because things got out of control, she said. We want to bring peace back to this home. I almost laughed. Peace. There had never been peace. Dad finally spoke. Your mother tells me you're threatening to walk away. That's unnecessary. You just need to calm down. There it was, my whole childhood in one sentence. My pain didn't matter. Their comfort did. I'm not here to calm down, I said. I'm here because you all crossed a line and pretended it was normal. My sister rolled her eyes. Here we go. I turned to her. You helped Mom hide the truth. You knew what she said and did. The room sucked in a breath. For the first time, none of them had control over me. Dad leaned forward, his voice sharp. There's no need to talk about the past. It's disrespectful. I stared at him. You mean the part where you blamed me for every problem in this house? Or the part where Mom told me I wasn't part of this family anymore? Watch your tone, he snapped. There it was again. They wanted me quiet, small, grateful for crumbs. Mom tried to step between us. Sweetheart, let's not make things worse. I shook my head. No, I'm done swallowing everything just to keep peace for people who never gave me any. My brother muttered, drama queen. I turned to him. You never defended me once, not even when you saw how they treated me. He opened his mouth, but said nothing. I held the folder in my hand, the document inside feeling heavier than gold. Everything in the room felt tight, like the air was holding its breath. Dad stood. Enough, we're ending this conversation now. But not this time. Not today. I wasn't a child they could shush into silence. I lifted the folder. No, I said, we're not done until you hear the truth. I placed the document on the table like a card in a winning game. Dad frowned. Mom froze. My sister leaned forward, nosy as always. My brother looked confused. What is this? Dad growled. The thing Mom never wanted me to see, I said. The reason she told me I don't belong in this family. Mom whispered, please don't. But I opened it. Page 1, my birth certificate. Page 2, the signed statement from the hospital. Page 3, the letter written years ago. Everything, the truths they hid from me my whole life. Dad's face went white. My sister's mouth dropped open. You lied to me for 19 years, I said quietly. You let me grow up thinking I was the problem when none of this was my fault. Mom covered her mouth. Tears slid down her cheeks. I was trying to protect you. No, I said. You were trying to protect yourself. Silence settled heavy over the room. For once, no one had anything to say. The truth wasn't a bomb. It was a mirror. And they finally had to see themselves. Mom fell to her knees like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. I had seen her angry. I had seen her cold, but I had never seen her break. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was scared you'd hate me. I didn't know how to tell you. Dad rubbed his forehead, speechless. My sister stared at the floor. My brother looked like he wanted to disappear. You told me I didn't belong, I said softly. Do you know how that felt? Mom reached for me, but I stepped back. Her hand froze in midair. I was wrong, she cried. I said it out of fear and anger. Please, I can't lose you. Her tears were real, but they didn't erase all the years she pushed me aside, all the times she made me feel like an outsider in my own home. You didn't lose me today, I said. You lost me the day you decided I wasn't worth telling the truth. She sobbed harder. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel weak. I felt free. I looked around the living room one last time. The same walls that held my pain. The same place where I learned to make myself invisible. Dad finally spoke. Where will you go? I don't know yet, I said, but somewhere I'm wanted. My sister whispered, we can fix this. No, I answered. You can fix yourselves. That's not my job anymore. Mom stood, shaking. Please don't walk out that door. But I had to. I had carried this weight my whole life. It wasn't mine to hold anymore. I walked to the hallway, grabbed my small bag, and turned back only once. I forgive you, I said, but I won't stay with people who treat me like a mistake. Mom cried into Dad's chest. My brother sat frozen. My sister quietly wiped her eyes. I opened the door. The air outside felt new, clean, sharp, honest. This wasn't running away. This was finally choosing myself. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but as I stepped out into the world, I felt lighter. The sky seemed bigger. My future seemed wider. I walked down the street with the folder under my arm. Not as a wound, but as proof that I survived what was meant to break me. I found a small cafe and sat by the window. For the first time in years, my chest didn't feel tight. I wasn't scared. I wasn't confused. My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "Please come home." I typed slowly. "I'll always care about you, but I'm choosing peace. Maybe one day we can talk again, but not now." Then I turned off my phone. I ordered a tea. I watched the world move around me like I was finally part of it. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their love to feel whole. I had myself. And that was enough. My new life didn't start with a dramatic moment. It started with one quiet choice: to walk away from what hurt me and walk toward who I was meant to become.